medical spas, practitioners and stuff like that, just really grow their business and dominate their local market with just some really good, clear marketing.
Welcome to the BizDad Podcast, where we dive into the melding of fathership and entrepreneurship with your host, the original BizDad himself, Adam Labar. Adam is a Christian, a former Air Force officer, a dad to 3 amazing kids, a coach, a real estate investor, and a business owner. On this podcast, he'll explore the unique journeys of amazing dads who are striving for greatness in both business and family. So whether you're a dad who is an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply a man striving to be a better dad, get ready as the BizDad brings you conversations to inspire, challenge, and equip you to be a better dad and entrepreneur. And now, here's Adam.
That is fantastic. So did you start the med spa stuff? Because before we started talking, you mentioned you lived in Miami before. You're in Oklahoma now. Did you start doing some of that stuff when you were in Miami and then move it to Oklahoma, or when did all that kick off?
Yeah, so it all kind of has evolved over time. So our first kind of journey to entrepreneurialism here with my wife and I is I was a firefighter paramedic for a long time. And so during that, this was before we had any kids, I was not the, I'll say, driven person that I am right now. So as a firefighter, it's 24 hours on, 48 hours off. And we didn't have any kids at the time. So man, I was like, man, I'm working my full-time job. And I was sitting around playing video games all day. I was a loser. And so my wife comes home, she was a nurse at the time, and she was like, listen, I know that you're working as a firefighter, but she's like, you're just not going to sit around and play video games all day. We got to find something else to do. So like as a firefighter, you got lots of odd jobs and stuff that you're doing. And so did like some construction stuff, like electrical work. I worked at a boat repair shop, all these little odds and ends jobs. But I was really never into working out growing up. I was not an athlete at all. First time I started doing some like serious strength training and everything was whenever I trained to become a firefighter. And I was like, well, I've really gotten into this fitness thing since being a firefighter. What if we open up a gym? And so we ended up opening up gyms, and that's kind of what got us into the entrepreneurial space. Is we owned several CrossFit gyms, and I was in the fitness industry for a long time. And I was a writer and fitness advisor for Men's Health magazine, and that's what brought us from Oklahoma to Florida, is going there to work in the fitness industry and everything there. And as we were there, health and wellness and everything is huge. And so my wife my wife and me are. Praise God for my wife. When I met her the day of my in senior year of high school, she told me what she was going to do, and she has done that to the T. I've had about 30 different jobs since then. And so it took me a while to kind of figure out, like, I think I'm going to be an entrepreneur and just kind of get to do a little bit of everything. But when we were in Miami, that's whenever we got exposed to a lot of the more, I would say, advanced wellness and that med spa feel. So whenever I was running the a popular gym in my South Florida in Miami for several years, and doing the online fitness stuff, then she kind of got exposed to this wellness stuff. And then 2020 happened, COVID got all crazy, downtown Miami and everything shut down. And we had our third child, our son Corbin. We decided like, it's too crazy here, let's go back home. So we ended up moving back to moving back to Tulsa. And whenever we moved here, that's whenever my wife decided, like, I want to start my own practice. So she started her own practice. And how the med spa thing kind of came about is the practice is membership-based medicine. And so we started having some like family members, friends and stuff wanting to come and get some of the benefits of the treatment, but they didn't necessarily want to be like a full-time patient. So then that's whenever it's actually 3 years ago this month, that we opened up the med spa. And so we just wanted to have something to where people could walk in, they could still get these great treatments, but they didn't have to necessarily become a full-time patient in order to. It's kind of just been an evolution of everything. And even how the marketing agency started, it started because as we were running the gym and we were hiring marketing agencies, like I was frustrated by the way that they were running things and doing things. Yeah. And I felt like some of it was a little shady. And I was like, I don't think that's the right way to do it. But I was ignorant at the time. And I was just like, these guys say they're the experts. Let's just give them money. And then as we moved to Miami and I started doing like the quote unquote, like online personal brand and doing the stuff with Men's Health and the online fitness stuff, I started having to self-teach myself this stuff. Then I started having friends, other personal trainers and gym owners that wanted to learn. I was like, well, I'll just do it for you. Just pay me some money, man. I'll help you out and I'll do it. And that just evolved into where whenever my wife launched her practice, she was like, well, you've done this for all these other gym owners. Could you do it for the practice? I was like, yeah, it's the same stuff. And then same thing happened to our attorney. He was like, you did this for your wife's practice. You're doing this for these other gym owners. Could you do it for me? I was like, yeah, it's the same stuff. To where now it's just slowly evolved over the, past 8 years now, to where now we still work obviously in the fitness industry space, just because that's where my experience is. But I would say 80% of our clients are that local service-based business, the accountants, the law firms, the med spas, and the home services. So it's just been an evolution.
That's really cool. So I want to rewind a little bit and go back to kind of you growing up to figure out how Sean became Sean, right? So, I was in this, I'm the same boat as you, like as far as like bouncing around different jobs. Like even I went in the military and I did an abnormal amount of jobs inside the military. Most people don't have 4 different jobs in the military, and I did, because I was just like, oh, well, I did really well at that one. It's time for me to try something else. I did really well at that one. Time for me to try something else. And I just kept moving around. Couldn't find my home. And it turns out that's because I like entrepreneurship and I like changing things and I like adjusting things. And, so I totally understand. But I want to rewind to kind of understand what it was like for you growing up. Tell me about your parents. Tell me about where you grew up and what, your upbringing.
Yeah, I grew up here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and honestly came from a very poor family. I was a stay-at-home mom whenever I was growing up. My dad worked for the city, working changing traffic lights and everything. So we grew up very, very low income family and everything. Like family of 5. I'm the oldest. I got 2 younger sisters, and family of 5. Living on like $30K a year. And so that was what was interesting about that is even though my dad was not an entrepreneur, he always spoke highly of them. He tried some business stuff in the past and everything that nothing really took off, because one thing I noticed is great family. I love him, but he didn't really have that drive. He liked the idea of the thing. Like I see a lot of people, they like the idea of entrepreneurship. Yeah. But I think people, especially now with social media, it's like overpopularized it to where it's like, oh, it's 4-hour work week. This is going to be great. I'm going to open up a business. And a year later, I'm standing on a yacht smoking cigars. No, it doesn't work like that, dude. It's a lot of work to get something good started.
I better change my process here then.
Yeah. So I think that there's like those little seeds that were planted at a young age of like being like having told like entrepreneurialism, owning your own business and stuff, and having that seed planted in you is like, that's what you actually want to do and be. And then so growing up and everything, I heard that stuff, but I never really saw it. Where for me, I've had several stages in my life where I grew up. Because for one, we got married. My wife and I got married at a super young age. So I was very immature even then. Like I was very, very lazy when we first got married. Like I even told you, like even when we first got married, my wife's like working night shifts and I'm doing like waiting tables and stuff like that because we're still in college and everything. And I'm playing video games. I'm barely like, I'm a loser at this point. Like, thank God I got an amazing wife and she stuck with me. But like, I'm just like going through the motions of life and everything. No drive, no purpose or anything else like that. And then there was different checkpoints in my life where I had like those like grow up moments. So like the first like grow up moment was whenever so I went to college originally to be a youth minister and to get into ministry and everything. And then we moved across the state to go work with a ministry group, and all their funding fell through. So I had to go start being a dishwasher at a restaurant. And so I was like, I'm a loser. Now I'm a dishwasher, all this stuff. And so I remember that like my first big grow up moment obviously was we got married at 19. The next big grow up moment was like about a year later whenever we moved, and I'm working as a dishwasher. I'm frustrated with life. And the manager pulls me aside because they knew me from high school because I used to work there. And they're like, hey, just so you know, we know you're a great guy, but if you don't get your stuff together, like we're going to let you go. And then that's like a big reality check of like, oh my God, like I get fired as a dishwasher. Like, where do you go from there? And so for some reason, that one moment that made me kind of snap, like, okay, you got to put your big boy pants on now and you got to get to work, and you got a wife, you got to start supporting her. And so I had a complete change in my work ethic just from that conversation. A manager was very kind to me and was really trying to like guide me because they could see something inside me that I couldn't. And anyway, I just ended up changing everything, my work attitude and ethic. And so 3 months later went from almost being fired to they made me an assistant manager. And so that led me the whole thing within management opportunities. And I was in the restaurant industry for several years and managed several big chain restaurants and everything. So from quick service to full service and everything. So that gave me my first kind of leadership management experience. So that was a good grow up moment there. And then the next one was when we opened up our gyms, and I was as a firefighter, and then we started opening up these gyms and stuff. Now I'm an entrepreneur and I'm kind of a next level of grow up because now it's like, man, you eat what you kill. And so I don't have anybody that's providing the paycheck and everything more, so I have to do it. But where I had the biggest growth was when we went from living in Tulsa, Oklahoma to Miami, Florida. Because when that happened, I saw things that I thought were only happening in like movies, like just the level of wealth that I was exposed to, the types of people that I was surrounded by, like they're doing business deals and everything that I couldn't even like envision that type of stuff. And so when we moved there, I got super lucky because I was a personal trainer at this very high-end gym in Miami. And so this is where all like the celebrities, business owners and stuff were working. And so I got like what's crazy, they were paying me for personal training, but these are some of like the most successful business guys in the world. Like most of them worth like tens to hundreds of millions of dollars, even a couple of billionaires that I get to train, and they're just giving me free advice. Like most of the time, like I've got their program opened up on my iPad, and then I'm switching over to the notes app and I'm typing in things that they've said and everything. And I had so many guys that it was honestly very much like the Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad type thing. I had so many of those guys that became like my business dad that were teaching me things, and they were telling me things. They were bringing me, like flying me on their private jet to go stand in the front row of the Tony Robbins business seminar. Like they were just like really supportive of me, and like always saying like, Sean, you really need to go back to doing your own thing. Cause they knew that I'd owned gyms and stuff in the past, and they were encouraging me. Same thing like my dad did when I was a child, of like, hey man, you need to start your own, like entrepreneurialism is the end game. But these guys were kind of now, I had something more to model off. And they were giving me opportunities, and they were showing me things and everything. And that's kind of been like the evolution of the grow up with all of the different.
So what did your wife think about all of that? I mean, you're about to get fired from being a dishwasher.
Yeah.
You're married. She's like, okay, well, this guy was supposed to be a youth pastor and be, driving all these things. And now, like, what is happening? What did I get myself into? What sort of conversations did you guys have at the beginning stages there?
But yeah, I mean, like real talk, it was like, you need to man up. And if you want this marriage to last and work, because how we're doing it right now is not. Like it was the real talk. It was not like, oh, it's okay, sweetie, I support you. Like my wife is very independent, very driven. Like think of alpha female. That's her. So she's strong and independent. She knew she didn't need me. Yeah. We're obviously a great partner and team together and everything, but she wasn't like, oh, sweetie, it's okay. Like, no, like you're the man. You need to step up. You need to start working. You need to be providing. Like that's our job as men. We need to provide and we need to protect. And so she recognized I wasn't doing that, but she called me out. So I think that's what it needs. Like you can't just go through the motions of things. And too many people live in a state of mediocrity. Just like, oh, well, I mean, I'm not as bad as that person. And I just kind of stay in this like flat plane of life and everything. But thankfully I have an amazing wife who time to time will slap me around and be like, you need to check yourself, bro. You need to man up.
Yeah. I love it.
It's real talks.
I tell people constantly that besides following the Lord, the number 2 best choice you can make is marrying the right woman. Oh, my daughters, are you on Diana? My wife just came right over to, stop. She just let the dog in instead. So now I get to hang out with the dog. But I always tell people that the number 1 choice you can do is follow Christ. Number 2 choice you can do is marry the right woman. Because if you marry the right woman, it's going to completely change your world. And I think that's, I'd love to hear your thoughts because we sort of talked about it beforehand, and I told you I was going to ask you on the podcast. But you mentioned that you would not necessarily recommend getting married at 19 because it's very difficult. But it seems to me, from just the short bit that we've talked thus far, that difficultness helped kind of sharpen your sword, and you have become a better man because of it. So, talk to me about like the difficult parts that perhaps have sharpened you, or why you usually recommend that people don't. So let me just ask that question: why you usually recommend people don't get married early?
Yeah, because this is the BizDad podcast, I'll relate it to entrepreneurialism. I think that everybody, my belief is everybody should have some side business they're doing. They should have some type of what I would call there's this pastor here locally that he calls it your 6th day project, because I do very much believe in working 6 days a week. So if you got your 9 to 5, you're working your Monday through Friday, I think everybody should have their 6th day thing that they work on. I don't think though everybody should be an entrepreneur, because I don't think that everybody is necessarily cut out for a full-time entrepreneurial lifestyle. Same thing with whenever I talk about getting married young. It's not that I tell people to do it because or not that they shouldn't. My wife and I says the same thing. It's not that we don't recommend because it's the difficult part. It's just because some people need more maturing before they jump into something like that, because they still have to work on themselves before they get married. So 110%, the marriage that I have now and the things that we've overcome and the difficulties that we've gone through, they would have broken, I would say, regular or other marriages that didn't have as much time in. But because we've had so much time in and we did grow up together, like we got at 19, like you're still a kid. And so you're growing up. Like who I am now is not even who I was 10 years ago, is definitely not who I was 20 years ago. And so because of that sharpening, as you said, like I'm a completely different person. And I 100% do believe that it is because of that. But just because I don't think everybody should go out and be an entrepreneur just because you can. Same thing with getting married. Anybody could go get married at 19. But I think that if you don't have that solid foundation, that's the biggest thing. And for me, what I would say with most people is, like you said, number one thing is following Christ. Like if you don't have that solid spiritual foundation, it's definitely going to be even harder. So
yes,
when I'm telling people, I say that as like a broad general term and everything, just because I don't want people to see is the side without knowing the inside of being like, oh,
for sure.
Sean and his wife got married at 19 and look, they got a strong marriage, 3 kids, they're successful. Like we should be able to do it too. Like, no, you guys don't know all the behind the scenes and the junk we had to work through and everything to get to that. So it's not that I don't think that people should, but I think too often, even with business, like it's a lot of this stuff relates to each other. It's, you see the outside of the thing, but you have no idea the work, the intentionality, the suffering, the sacrifice and everything that got to be that thing. And so we have an incredible marriage. I would put it against anybody in the world, but we had to go through a ton of sacrifice and suffering and work and growth and spiritual development, personal development, growth, and everything that we've done to have that thing. And so I don't think people often recognize that's what it takes, because it's not that it worked because we got married young, but it's all the things that happened through us to go through that.
Yeah. I think that the number one thing that I would tell folks that's, like if you want to be married at 19, then you better be marrying for the right reasons, not just because like, do you have a firm foundation? Again, I'm going to go from a Christian perspective because that's where I believe that we should be sitting. But all right, are you guys both Christians? Do you both understand the purpose of marriage? Do you both understand what your goals are? Are you both committed to the fact that no matter what happens in front of you, you're going to stay together and work side by side, sharpening each other, building each other up, not tearing each other down? Okay, then get married at 19. Perfectly fine with that. You guys are going to struggle a lot, just like anybody else. Because like my wife and I talk about it all the time, we wish that we would have met each other at 19. Because we we'd have older kids right now, but B, like we would have spent so many more years together and gotten rid of some of the nonsense that happened in between, high school and marriage. And it was like, man, if we'd have, found each other earlier, got married at 19 and 20, like what a difference our life would be, and where we'd be going and what we'd be doing. But again, you have to start. I completely agree with you on that foundation. Boys at 19 years old, because I'll still call them boys, are not ready for that, right? But the right woman will grow you and build you in such an amazing way, which you're evidence of. But man, oh man, you make the wrong choice, you're in a world of hurt. So that's why, it's my neighbor, another Christian buddy of mine, he had like this 21 and 20-year-old couple that they're talking about marriage. They went and sat down with my buddy and his wife and said, hey, we want to talk to strong Christian couples who are successful in their marriage, who have kids, and try to just learn from your guys' experience on, what worked well for you. And I was like, golly, like at 20 years old to think like that?
Yeah.
Amazing. Like, and that's what I would encourage folks. If you're 19 and you want to get married, sit down with some folks, sit down with Sean, have a conversation. Just come give me a call. Let's sit down and discuss what it is to be married. I've been married for 16 years. We've been together for 18 years. And it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of, drive that it takes and dedication and knowing what it means. But, the Bible tells us to seek out wise counsel. So do the same thing before you get married. I tell you what. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that one thing also, like on the flip side, is the difficulties of people, especially now that are getting married, like older in life, like in their mid 30s and stuff like that. That now presents a completely different set of challenges because, man, you've got your routine, your way of doing things. Like you, at that point, have almost grown up, and now you almost have to take a step back and break things down because, well, now how do we fit these two worlds and everything in there together?
Exactly.
So it is going to be difficult no matter what. Like, it's not like, this is a sweet spot to get married.
when you guys are both fully established and you've got your own ways of doing things and you've got your own, like, it's difficult to smash those two worlds together. It really is. But yet, for you two, you grew up like, oh, I didn't even know I didn't like that until I saw you do that, instead of like, now we can work through that together, instead of, oh no, I don't like women who do that, so I'm not going to marry you. It's like, oh, well, no, learn from each other. Like, you're never going to find the perfect person who doesn't do anything to annoy you. Like, every couple is going to go through things where, your wife or your husband annoys you, and that's just part of the process. But man, I love the idea, the concept of, looking back at, what marriage was a long time ago, where it was an actual covenant that lasted a long time, not just a government document that we could shred and say that this is over tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we look back and say, okay, well, they got married young. They worked hard together. They grew up together. They started with nothing, and then they grew something together, even if it's just a family that they grew together. Maybe they didn't grow a big business. Maybe they didn't grow anything else, but they grew a family together, and they learned how to grow together. And now we're just like, oh, no, get married at 35, 40. Get
first yourself established first.
Yeah. And then before you know it, like, it seems to be a trend that I'm seeing more and more recently, where a lot of very powerful, strong women who, bought into a lot of that are 45, 0 kids, and going, man, I'd really like to start having kids. It's almost sounds harsh to say, but probably should have thought about that at 25. But here we are, and that's why I strongly encourage folks to get married as soon as because I teach my boys now. They're 11 and 7, and I'll ask my 11-year-old, I said, what's the purpose of dating? Because they were at youth group, they were just recently talking about dating and what that looks like, and Wait to Date, I think, was the title of all the stuff. And I said, what's the purpose of dating? And he already knew the answer because I talked to him about it before he even went to church about it, right? But he's like, the purpose of dating is to find the woman that I want to marry. I said, that's exactly right. And I said, so if you're on the 3rd date and you realize that's not who you want to marry because it doesn't meet X, Y, or Z criteria, what do you do? Well, I stopped dating him. I said, that's exactly right. There you go. But instead, we have this like free-flowing dating world of like, oh, well, I could just swipe right on whoever I want, and I could go on any dates as I want. I could do all this stuff. And it's just like, man, oh man. I'm like envious of you at the moment for sort of saying that you got married at 19.
Yeah. So that part, though, a lot of people don't understand that, because like whenever you are 19, you're dumb, you're immature. And so whenever we had that moment of like, I was like, no, I know this is my wife right here. If you don't believe that way, you're like, oh, you're just young and in love. You're being dumb. And so 100%, I do believe with that, like, cause that's why we did it, is we just knew, I knew that this is going to be my wife. And so there's not going to be a perfect time to make it happen. So if you do know, and knowing isn't a gut feeling, like you said, like, I'm a Christian, so you have to be led by the Holy Spirit. You have to pray. You have to seek wise counsel and stuff like that. So it's not just like I have a good feeling about this. Like, you have to know, and when you know, and that 100% is the driving decision. It's not like the timing of the thing, because I think a lot of times what people can also do is they can think that this is the right person and everything, but it's just not the right time. And well, let me wait until I grad college and then get my career established and save up money and I can buy a house. And then by that point, like you said, like, that person maybe has moved on. Like, so when you know.
And I try to put, just because I'm a data logical type of person, like there's metrics to this too, right? Like, what are you looking for? There's a check. There's got to be a checkbox that they have to hit. Are they Christian? Like you said, do they read the Word? Do they seek wise counsel? Are we aligned long term for what the purpose of marriage is? Do we enjoy each other's company? I mean, that's something you should probably have a checklist on, right? So it's not just, wow, they're like, especially as a 19-year-old boy, she is really good looking. So I better marry her quickly. Typically like the guy's checklist.
Does she look good?
Yeah. And I don't know, there's always that chart that's like looks versus crazy, right? Like that, it seems the hotter they are, the crazier they are, type of thing. But no, it's a, again, it comes down to what is the purpose of marriage. The purpose of marriage is not just to find somebody that you want to hang out with. It's so much more than that, so much deeper than that. So strongly encourage folks to work hard on that thought process. And we could teach our kids to think like that, just like I am right now. I have my 11-year-old. Like, I know he's not hitting puberty yet, but dagnabbit, I know it's going to be coming close, so I might as well start throwing things at him now, testing him now, getting him ready now. So what sort of conversations, speaking of kids, did you and your wife have about raising a family, about all of this stuff? I mean, you got married still at 19, so you're still kind of a kid yourself.
Yeah.
Woman, still kind of already borderline adulthood. Man, not so much until around 25. So what sort of conversations did you have about kids? Obviously, you said you knew you wanted to wait for a little while, but...
Yeah, I would say there was no like, and this is the thing of getting married young, is I wasn't even thinking about that things at that level. I just knew I'm still a kid. I definitely don't want to have kids right now. And then whenever, so like our part of our like having kids journey and everything is just grace of God. So we are told that she wasn't going to be able to have any kids, and so she was finishing up her master's degree, and we're like, okay, well, and this is part of her whole journey with why she does medicine the way she does. And so we're told we couldn't have any kids. We're gonna have to do fertility treatments and everything. And then so as she's finishing up her school, she's really diving into this functional world of medicine and stuff. She starts using like fixing her like health with nutrition and supplementations and just her overall health and fitness. And then from being told that like 6 months later, like she's pregnant. And then so she's pregnant with our first daughter, and she's born, beautiful, everything's great. And then she had a really bad delivery. And then so after that, she was like, you're never gonna have any more children. Okay, like, so this is our one, this is who we have. And then just so you know, like they said that our daughters are 16 months apart. After we were told that, 3 months later, she's pregnant again. Then now we got 2 children. And then we thought we were done. And so we were, had our 2 daughters. We ended up moving to Miami. We had been living there for about 5 or 6 years and everything. Thought we were done having kids. And because the same thing, oh, you're not going to have any more kids. Okay, so we got these 2 girls. Then here we go, baby boy shows up. so everyone, like, you know, every like the joke is like, you were an accident. Like, no, every single one of you were not planned. So you've all got the same playing field there. Because every single one was told that it wasn't going to happen. So every single one of them like truly are a gift from God. I think that like. So going back to like, what did we talk about? We didn't really have any real conversations until we started having children. And then even as we have children, those conversations have evolved a lot to where like I knew that there were certain things about me. I did not want to instill those habits inside of my children and things that how I grew up and stuff I didn't want them to see. So like same thing with her. And then certain things like, okay, I definitely want to make sure that they experience that. Like, so for one, we knew 100% we were going to raise our kids in a church. And so because my wife and I are both solid Christians, we want our kids to grow up around the word. I don't want the church to teach my kids, like that should all be done in home, but I want them to be surrounded by those types of people and everything. And now as like whenever we first got married, my wife and I, and even when we first started having kids, like we had owned one business, but my wife even wasn't that entrepreneurial even then. Like that's when she started opening her practice. But so now it's a lot of the conversations are like because I think one thing that we do that is probably somewhat unique, and it sounds like you do this and everything as well, is we include our kids in a lot of conversations and let them hear a lot of conversations that normal 5, 11, and 12-year-old kids wouldn't hear. So we let them hear, like, because one of the things, like Proverbs, it's train up a child in the way they go, so when they're older, they don't depart. So training is intentional. Not just, you know, it's just like with fitness training, right? It's intentional to program. It follows a set structure of rules and all of this stuff. And so with us, we want them to hear. We don't want them just to see what we do, but we want them to hear how we make those decisions. So oftentimes, like whenever I'm doing business calls, like they're in the truck with me, like driving to school or something, and they're hearing conversations I'm asking or questions I'm asking. Then afterwards, they're like, why did you ask that question? They'll hear me do interviews and stuff on like Zoom and stuff, like hiring staff and everything. And they'll listen and I'm like, why did you ask them that? And now they're at the point where they've heard enough conversations. I'll ask them like, all right, what'd you think of that person? Like whenever we meet people and stuff like that, what'd you think of that? What did you notice about the way that they did? And we're trying to start being intentional with letting them hear things like why we make financial decisions, why we're deciding to invest. Because we want them to recognize like we're very, very blessed in every area of our life, spiritually, financially, like relationally. And so we want them to understand what it took to get that. Like I want them to see that my kids know that my office right here, every morning, they're going to come in here. They're going to see dad sitting in his chair right here, reading the word, praying. They're going to see their mom, my wife, in the bedroom at the little table in the bedroom. Same thing every morning. Like they're going to see those habits and stuff starting to get involved. So those are the things that I think that we have now not really planned, but now that we notice that it's happening and that they're recognizing it, we're intentional to call things out because we want them to start being aware and to start noticing things. What did you know?
Yeah, I love it. It's the intentionality behind it, I think, is where, you know, a lot of people tend to kind of drop the ball. We're so intentional in our business and creating all of these things and doing all this stuff. But like looking at our family and knowing that my last name is going to last a whole lot longer than any business that I own. At least that's the intent. That's the hope, right? I mean, is that it just keeps on growing and growing. But, and my call here on this earth is more to my family than it is to anything else. You know, God has entrusted me with this family, not, you know, yes, he's entrusted me with a business as well. But, you know, a man who doesn't care for his family is as good as a non-believer, right? So you better be doing that, right? So be intentional about it. Like find the things that make sense for your family. Find the things that make sense for you guys to enjoy and get in the Word and be a good example of. And, you know, to your point, more things are caught than taught. So show them what it is. Like I know that I do a not so great job of getting in the Word every day the way that I know that I should be doing. It's like, okay, well, what am I teaching my kids when I'm not doing that? What am I showing them? Like, okay, well, that's, you know, the Bible's just second fiddle. It's okay. No, like that's not great, right? That's not the wise way of doing it. As you guys started, you grew up, obviously, if you did you guys both grow up Christians or did you guys become Christians later?
We both grew up in the church. My mom was a church secretary. Her mom like sang in the church choir at her church. Nice. Like both of us, yeah.
Very cool. So if you guys, I would imagine since you were going to be going to school to be a youth pastor, I would imagine that you grew up in the church. But so you guys get married, you guys have a good basis, a biblical basis of what marriage looks like. You understand kind of that. So how did your conversations evolve over the years? Because if you were lazy at the beginning and she was telling you, you need to knock this nonsense off, you know, part of that was probably you felt a little bit dejected with the jobs that you're doing and all of that. It kind of makes us feel lazy if we're not doing the things that are inspiring us. But obviously you have a woman there that was inspiring you. So how did your kind of conversations evolve over into like, okay, let's really be intentional about this. Like God's blessed us with these kids, which we weren't expecting to be able to even have. So now like, how did you guys sit down and kind of go, okay, this is what we've got to do. But at this point, I'm assuming you're already successful. You've already started doing things. You're no longer the lazy bum you were. So, you know, obviously the conversation is a little bit different, but talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I explain the growth personally and even like career wise and everything, but it took even longer, even though I grew up as a Christian and I wanted to be a youth pastor and everything. It was almost like that was still just very surface level, like belief and everything. So even though so if we think about this, like when we first get married, like my wife's way up here in every area of life, I'm down here. Well, I got up a little bit more from like the career, like personal discipline type side and everything. She was still always even like the spiritual leader of our home for the longest time. It was probably, it was about 12 years or so into our marriage before I started like really like, okay, no, I need to take this stuff seriously. And really starting to get more serious with my beliefs. And same thing, like I was like the Sunday Christian. Like, yeah, I'm just going to go to church and hear the feel good message, pay your tithe, all that stuff. But it wasn't like a serious like diving commitment. And if I had to like diagnose myself, it was probably just because I was so frustrated because I thought I was supposed to go and be a youth pastor. And now I'm washing dishes and going through and doing all these things. So I know that there was probably some root to that and everything. But about 11, 12 years into our marriage is when I really started taking everything seriously. And then I would say where I took like a hockey stick growth was during COVID. I think that during 2020, a lot of people in the world, like Christians, non-believers, everybody, they went one of two different paths. And we started to see some polarization and everything. And I saw the way things were going in the world. I saw how I was. And I was like, I don't just want to be mediocre, just average in anything, especially my faith. So that's whenever my wife would even say is like in 2020, she's like, you're a different man than I married, but in a, I think that it's very easily to be said like Sean's a spiritual leader. And I do set that pace and that tone and everything, because for me, it is a non-negotiable. I'm in here every single day, 4:30 a.m. from 4:30 to 5:30 in the Word, prayer, writing devotion, writing down my notes from what I'm reading and stuff. That is, the entire household knows that. And they know that even if on a weekend, if I sleep in, same thing. Like, you know, some people, it's like, don't talk to him until he's had his coffee. For me, it's like, don't talk to Dad until he's gone in there and he's got his Word time in and everything.
Nice.
And so like, it took me a long time to get to that growth. So like the conversations still weren't, been married over 20 years now, but it took, 11. So we started being able to have like real mature conversations because I was actually growing. And it probably took like another, like the total of like 15 years before it's like, okay, now I finally actually have a husband that's leading it.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like it even lined up well with your first child, right? Kids make you grow up. it slaps you in the face real quick.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have to grow up at first. Like, I just had this amazing wife that's supporting me and all this. Oh, wait a second. Now I've got a new little one with my last name, and I've got to, like, that slaps you in the face. It gets you a warm, fresh, sober mind real quick.
Because like if it's just you and your spouse, like worst case scenario, because she can take care of herself. Especially my wife, she's strong, she's independent. Now you have this child that can't, they can't even like hold their head up. Like, well, now you definitely, like, they can't figure it out on their own. They can't take care of themselves. So it's like, that's the slap in the face wake up call.
Yeah, love it. You're exposing your kids to business. You're talking to them about different things. What's your intention later as they continue to grow? Like, are you wanting to guide them one way or another? Or are you trying to, what's your intention as they're growing into now soon to be teenage world?
Yeah, I think two things is one, like my wife and I are big on legacy, because I came from very poor. She came from, I would say, like upper middle class, not poor, but not like ultra wealthy or anything like that. And so the main thing that whenever we're having these conversations is to let our kids know what we came from and why we do the things that we do. And it's not to have more, but it's like, we let them know we are doing this for you guys to have a foundation. And they're now, even, especially our daughters, they're old enough to start grasping this concept, because we have these conversations a lot. Like, you guys realize that we're doing this for you, but we're really even doing this. Like, we'll say, we know that you're not going to fully understand this, but we're really doing this for your kids and your grandkids. That's what all of this stuff is for them. It's not just so we can have cool vacations and a nice house and all these things, but we're trying to set you guys up. You can take it and you can have this launching pad to go do whatever it is that you want. And then the second aspect of it is trying to show them a different, things don't have to be done what people would say is traditional, where you go to college, you get your degree, then you go work for a company, and then you hopefully work hard and promote yourself up. Like, we always, like, we'll ask them, like, because now they think that they have to have all this stuff figured out at like 11 or 12. Like, no. Just be a kid, have fun. There's going to be plenty of stress later, but we want them to see ways of wealth generation, of not just, I have to go work for somebody and they're going to pay me an hourly wage or a. So with our kids now, even they want to buy something, one of our daughters, she'll start selling dog treats. So she'll make her own little dog treats. She'll set up a little booth. She'll like put out a little Facebook post she'll have us put a Facebook post out in our little neighborhood page. And she's like been in our neighborhood magazine for selling her dog treats. Like, she's starting to realize, like, if she wants money, it's not like I need to go work for somebody. It's like, okay, what can I do to generate money? Because I don't want them to go get a job or think that they have to go get a job. So they're starting to ask questions as they're getting a little bit older of like, well, how much does this job pay? Or what would I really want to do if I do this? And so, like, in the kid's mind, like, the coolest job for my daughters right now is like working at a makeup store, because they can get a discount on makeup. Or they can, they're like, oh, what if we worked at Starbucks and we got to be a barista? I'm like, okay, listen, mom and dad aren't doing this, so you can be a barista. And so now they're starting to think about it differently, where, okay, if that sounds really cool, instead of being the barista, what if we were the people that owned the coffee shop? And so just getting them to think differently. So I want them to not think that, because even then, like, now they're also asking questions like, well, do I have to go to college? It depends. Like, because they're asking, well, do you have to go to college to like own this type of business? Or do you have to go to college if you want to do this? And so, like, my answer always does, like, the only thing you really have to go to college for is if it's something like your mom that requires like a specific like licensure or degree, something like that. Like if you want to be a medical doctor or something like that, that requires it. But like, if you just want to own your own business, like, personal soapbox, I think getting a degree in entrepreneurialism is the biggest waste of your money. Take that 60, 80K that you were going to do and spend that actually learning a business, because I guarantee you most of your professors have never actually owned a business. They're reading out of a textbook of best practices and stuff. Find something you're passionate about, get really good at it, and go do the thing, because you're going to get so much more knowledge and be way ahead of everybody else just by taking what you would have paid for your college to get a business started. And if you've done it wisely, like you sought wise counsel, like we sought of early, hey, it just might work. And so that's one thing. So I tell my daughters all the time, like, you're not gonna have to go to college if you want to own your own business.
Yeah. And even if it doesn't work, you're still going to learn a ton. Why didn't it work? What can we do next time? And you could have 3 businesses running by the time you would have finished your MBA anyways, right? Like you could already have some fully functional businesses doing things, spitting off cash flow for you, well managed, well oiled. Maybe you failed to the first 3 of them and now you have 3 of them, and just because you went out there and did it, because there's no substitution for execution. Like the education is going to come while you're executing. So don't sweat it.
And that's where, like, even now with like, there's so much self-learning opportunities. Like even going back to our kids, like if they want to learn certain things, like my daughter wanted to do the dog treat business. She's like, I want to sell something so I can make money. What do you want to sell? I don't know. Maybe I could do dog treats. How are you going to do that? I don't know. Let me go to YouTube. And so they'll start looking up YouTube recipes and stuff. Like I think for me, like I'm a big believer of self-education and everything. There's so many resources out there. Like probably almost any business that you can think of, again, unless it requires some special licensure or degree or something, probably figure out how to do it online with remote learning, with YouTube videos, courses and books and mentors and stuff like that. There's not a traditional, I don't think, linear path to becoming an entrepreneur. It's a lot of figuring this stuff out. And so that's what we want our kids to see is like, you don't have to go to college if you want to open up your own business or anything like that. Like, and so, but I want them to start thinking those things, and then also thinking about that and understanding that this life and everything that we do is more than just this stuff. That it is not even just about mom and dad having nice stuff or us being able to give them nice stuff, but it's like their kids and children's children. Think bigger than just yourself and realize that why mommy and daddy work late nights sometimes, why mommy and daddy do these things is because we are trying to build this platform for you guys to be able to go out and just not have to, like we always tell them, like, we're doing this so you don't have to. Like but at the same time, we don't want the other side of that coin. I tell them, we're also not doing this so you can coast. Like we're doing this so you can keep scaling this stuff up. And we do. And it's not that you have to keep our businesses or scale them, but it's more so the opportunities, the thought process, like the life lessons that we've learned. We want to instill all that stuff into them so they can just take it.
Yeah, because I mean, if you sharpen all those life lessons and those skills, then they're going to be successful no matter what they choose to do, right? So just give them as many tools as you can, help fill their toolbox. When it comes time and they need to pull one out, they've got it, you know? And, you know, I had to go and buy a bunch of new tools and go find all these new tools because I had no idea, you know? I signed up for the military at 16 years old. I was, you know, pre 9/11. I was like, yeah, this is what both of my parents were in. That's what I'm going to do. I know what I want to do. Sign up. Let's go. And then, you know, it was like my junior year of high school, 9/11 happened. I was like, all right, well, that's going to change my trajectory a little bit, isn't it? Right.
It's a little different.
But I had to, you know, the same, like I tell people all the time, I said, I want my kids to know that, like, if they want to join the military, they can, but they know that it's just an option, not the only option. You know, in my brain, there wasn't another option. There was no college. There was no, like, nobody in my family went to college. That wasn't a thing. We didn't, like, no, like people don't go to college. Like people like us don't go to college is really more like what it was. But yes, my dog. I didn't warn you beforehand that my dog may try to join the podcast as well. But here he is. But yeah, I didn't think anything about college or anything like that. But I look at my wife, and her mom was very much like, no, you're going to go to college. You're going to walk down the aisle in black before you walk down the aisle in white, and you're going to make sure that you're doing this, that, the other thing, and just had a different, you know, her mom was born and raised in Cuba, and her dad was born and raised in Spain. So she's first generation born here. So her mom was like, there are things that you just need to do. Like we're going to be strong Americans, and I'm going to teach you how to do things. You're in a country that gives you all of these amazing opportunities, and you're going to take advantage of them, because her mom knows what it's like to grow up with, you know, Mom Dami running your world. So not to get too awfully political here, but it can be very bad. So let's fix it now. So, you know, we're trying to pull in all these different tools. What can we do? What can we show? What can we expose our kids to that, you know, can make what I'm doing their floor, let my ceiling be their floor. Yes. And then they just grow from there and then grow from there. It's not an easy thing. I feel like it's a daunting thought process, but do you ever think about like maybe writing down a lot of your ideas? Or maybe you already do it. I don't know. Like writing down like okay, well, when they're 17, this is kind of where I want to be, and this is kind of how I want to be working it. Or do you just kind of take it day by day and see where they're at?
Yeah, I haven't been that intentional with it. The only thing that we've done, I think, intentionally is we do have the end goal, but the points in between mapped out of when those checkpoints are going to be, those are not like specifically mapped out as far as like hard cutoff dates. One thing that we did start doing whenever my daughters turned 10, which I will say that this has been awesome, and I'm going to be doing it same thing with my son whenever he starts turning 10, for their birthday, what we started doing is we started asking them, do you want to party with your friends or do you want a one-on-one trip with mom? And so same thing whenever it's my son, it's party with your friends, do you want a one-on-one trip with your dad? Every year they've taken the one-on-one trip. Nice. And then sometimes they're like, well, can we bring our sister, our brother and sister, or can we do a family trip and stuff? And so they want to make it an experience and stuff. Because what started is whenever you first pitch it, especially to a 10-year-old kid, they're like, I'm not going to get presents. My friends are going to come. Like, no, that sounds like a horrible idea. But what we, how we got him to do it, I said, okay, tell me what did you do last year for your birthday party and what were your favorite gifts? And they're like,
crickets.
I think maybe I said, what was your favorite trip that we went on last year? Oh, I loved it when we went to Costa Rica and we did this and this. And I was like, exactly. I said, you're going to remember all that stuff. You're not going to remember these parties. And so those I know have been really great just for like, because a lot of times what they'll typically try to do is when my wife's taking them is take them on a trip there's a decent amount of travel time. So they get lots of time to like sit next to each other on the plane or like a, 6, 7, 8 hour road trip in like Nashville, something like that, where we're in the car and you get lots of that one-on-one alone time. That has been something that we've been intentional about as far as those things, because we do know where we want. Kind of the same thing with like business. Like, you know where your business wants to go, but you might not necessarily have the individual checkpoints along the way of, oh, first I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do this, because kids are extremely dynamic. Like they might have an experience at school that triggers something else. You're like, whoa, didn't think we were going to be dealing with this at this age. Like, so there's different things to where I don't think you can necessarily plan for those things. But if you know the end destination, we kind of can start self-checking on things that we need to check along the way and everything. But it's not going to happen. You do have to create those moments and be intentional with it, because if not, it's not, it's going to happen by default to design. So you need to be intentional with it to make sure that you're designing it, not just like, oh, my kids graduating, and I don't even think I've talked to them about what it's going to be like to come against, like, especially like spiritual turmoil and things like that as they go away to things and stuff. So you got to be intentional.
For sure. We do the same thing in our business to a point, right? If you've created a 5-year vision and you know where you want the business to go, it doesn't mean you know every step of the process, but you plan it all out as it goes. And like, okay, does this thing that we're doing align with our 5-year goal, our 5-year vision? Does it align with the direction we're trying to bring the company? Does it align with our core values? Does it align with how we want to? We've got our core values up next to where we usually eat dinner, not the actual official dinner table, but where the breakfast table or whatever you want to call it. So our core values are there, and recently we've done a not so great job of going over them. But on Sunday nights at dinner, we'd go over them. Like, hey, what example did you see this week of your core values? And we do that in our business, right? Like, what are the core values of our business? Like, are we representing well to our, like this escape room that I just bought? Like, are we representing well to our customers? Like, our number one value is that they are enjoying themselves, right? So did they have a good time? Are we helping them have that good time? Okay. Right? Is the decision we're making now going to get them to have a better time? Is what we're doing now going to help us grow, build the business, go towards our core values, go towards our vision? So I completely agree that it's hard to put the lines in the sand on what, there's going to be a tripwire, but whether or not that means the execution happens right at the tripwire is one thing. So
I that is one thing that we do need to do. What you just said is because we had this big dinner at our church a couple years ago. And they gave us like this like family binder to where you like write out your core values, you go over them. And that's one of those things that where, it's only as good as your execution on the thing. And so we ended up writing our family core values and stuff. And we used to have like a Sunday family meeting to where the families getting together. Hey, here's the plan for the week and stuff like that. And we still do that. We live and die by the calendar because kids, events, businesses and stuff like that. But being intentional of going back to the core values, I think that is a really good thing that you said, as far as like, it's great to have the thing, but and you're not reminding the kid of the thing of like, hey, this is why we have a crazy schedule this week. This is why we're doing all these things. Like, it goes back to this is what we're trying to build. That's really good. And that's something that I know that we need to get back.
Because, and then we can, when we're having the conversations with the kids, we can say, does this align with our core values, right?
Yeah.
Or if they want to make a decision on something, you could talk about that party versus the trip, right? Okay, like does one over the other kind of more align with what our goals are and what our values are? There's no necessarily right or wrong answer in some of those cases. Like this year, my kids are having a party. Oftentimes, we take an adventure instead. We do this. We ask them the same question rather often. Like 2 years ago, we did a cruise, like because both their birthdays are in December, and then we have Christmas. So it's like, all right. you're going to get presents from your family, from everybody else. So let's just go on an adventure as a family. So we go off and do some fun things that way. But I love the experience side of the house as well, just to double back on that, because it's such a life-changing thing for the kids. All the travel. I mean, they get to tell their friends, oh yeah, we've been to 10 different countries and we've done all this stuff. And it's like, yeah. How many of your friends have been to 10 different counties? Let alone countries. Come on. But it's so much fun to watch them experience all of that stuff. So what is your, as you're continuing to grow the businesses, what's your intention behind the businesses at this point? Where are you wanting to grow these things? Are you wanting to make more of these IV therapy things and build this functional medicine to be a $50 million? What is the intention here at the moment?
Yeah, right now with the medical clinic side it is set and established. We don't really necessarily want to scale that with more providers. My wife's on like a 2 to 3 month waiting list right now. Like it is set, established, rocking and rolling business. And there's little things that we can do to maybe squeeze a few things out of it here and there, but it is very established, very successful. The IV therapy, that is for us, our intention behind that is the scalable franchise that we're trying to build. So that is kind of our next focus is on that. Our plan is to scale it, franchise it, have multiple locations, sell that off. That's like our big plan with that. And on the marketing agency side, don't necessarily see it scaling it, but what I do want is that will eventually be to where it supports the franchise. And then eventually that will be our gate into more equity partnerships with other businesses. So as we've built out I've got a solid full-time team of like 11 staff members working for the agency as it continues to grow and everything, where we're building out our systems. The goal will be as the franchises sell, we have that's part of the franchise model now is like, you don't even have to worry about your marketing. You come get a complete marketing team that supports it. Then also using that to invest into other businesses. You've got these plug and play systems to where, hey, if you've got a home service business, a medical clinic or something like that, we can come in, we can be your agency support behind all the stuff, run everything. And then the marketing agency continues to grow and be its own successful thing. But I really want it to be to where it's getting us equity ownership in companies and stuff, just to build up our whole.
I like it. Yeah. The escape room that I have is technically a franchise. And one of the things that they do is they have a marketing fee because they've got their marketing team and does all of their stuff. And so they just get a marketing fee. So they're getting the franchise fee stuff, plus they've added on, hey, we've already got all the marketing you need, all the stuff that you need. So as you're saying that, I'm picturing that would be a perfect setup. You've got the marketing company that you're growing the relevance and everything outside, but then if you franchise all of this stuff, now you're building your own clientele within your franchises as well to grow the marketing agency. So I like the concept for sure.
Because I mean, as this agency grows and it becomes more known and reputable, that just becomes another selling point for the legitimacy of the franchise. Because if you knew you were, Grant Cardone is like popular in like the real estate world and stuff. If you knew that you were buying into a franchise and it was Grant Cardone's marketing team and investment team that was supporting it, it instantly gives it more credibility because that person has trust. That's kind of the intention with this is as the agency grows and builds and everything, it's like, okay, well, it's almost like a slam dunk because we know the success that the agency's had. And so if we're part of if we buy their business systems, we know we're going to have the leads and stuff to support the thing. It just makes it a lot easier of a sell to get people to want to franchise.
Sure, I completely agree with that. What you mentioned your kids going to school and whatnot. I bounce all over the place in these conversations. Sorry. What sort of school do you send your kids to? What sort of thought processes do you have on school? And I want to go back to another comment that you made that just popped in my head about the church. But let me start with the school first.
Yeah. With school, so I grew up homeschooled until I was in 9th grade. And then I was homeschooled fully until 3rd grade. And then from like 3rd to 9th grade, I went through this, like it was a co-op thing at our church. So it was like half homeschooled, half you would go to just connect with kids and stuff and have teachers and stuff. And then I didn't start public school until I was in 9th grade. My wife went to public school her whole life and everything. And so I've seen what it's like to homeschool and everything. In my heart, that's what I would love to be able to homeschool our kids and have them here so it could just even give us more opportunities to travel more and everything with what we do. But just logistically, realistically, we know that's not going to happen right at this season in our life. So right now, our 2 oldest daughters, they go to a private Christian school here in our city. And then our youngest son goes to a local elementary school. So our daughters went to the same, we live we're in Oklahoma, man. We're in the Bible Belt, and then where we specifically live is like the Bible Belt it's like the buckle of the Bible Belt. Like like a lot of there's churches on every corner and stuff. And so one thing that's very unique, especially, and then within that, we live in a very like awesome little like golf cart country club community here. And so the elementary school is in our neighborhood. Even though it's a public school, it goes all the way up to 6th grade. Like when you drop your kid off in the morning, like the front desk lady is like playing worship music and like praying with the kids. And like, it's like a public school, but it's like a bubble because the rest of the schools in the district aren't like that, but this specific one is. So that's what our kids, like their public school journey was like. It was awesome. And so, but then whenever they get out of that, the like 6th and 7th grade center and stuff around here is not so much. And so just 2 years ago, we decided to just not have them go through that and have them go to the Christian school. But if I got to pick, I would love it if everybody was homeschooled. That's kind of like what I've started slowly been planting those seeds in my wife's head, like because there's such a big gap between our oldest and our son. And so when the 2 girls have graduated, like our son's going to be in 6th grade. And so I would love it if we were able to like homeschool from him from then on and would be able to travel and everything else like that. So that would be my intention and goal. But yeah, what about you guys? What do you think about all this?
Boy, yeah, I'll rewind a tiny bit. So I was a public school guy my entire life, and my wife was a private school gal her entire life. So when we got married, she was like, oh yeah, we should totally do private school. And I was like, no, public school prepared me so much for the real world and all the stuff. And then even when we were both in the military and we're stationed in Japan. Our second kid was born in Japan. Our oldest was going through it's called the CDC, the Child Development Center there. So basically a daycare, but the military the DoD does do a good job, especially the Air Force side of the house, of having a really solid education program inside of the daycare. Yeah. Which is great. But Adam was very on top of it, very advanced, ready to go. And they told us, they were like, you can't, he's a December baby. So it was always like a battle. You can't start kindergarten until you're 5 and all this stuff. But the guy there was like, if you wait another year, like, it's just not like your kid really needs to get into kindergarten. Like he's totally ready. And he used to be a principal at an elementary school. And he was like, I've been an elementary school teacher. I've been the principal. I've like, your kid's just ready to go. So it took me so much work when we moved back to America to find a school that would take him. And it was a private Christian school. It's like, all right, well, let me put him into a private Christian school for the first year, get his kindergarten done. And then we lived right next door to the best. We specifically picked this house because it was next to the best public school in the county. And I was like, and it's like literally in the back of my neighborhood. So I can walk him to school, walk through the thing, drop him off, and he can go. And my neighborhood had like 20 houses, right? So it's a very small neighborhood, 6.5 acre lots, and the best school right behind it. I was like, this is great. And then first year we do that school, I was like, I think we're going to stick around here. Like he's coming home singing Bible songs and memorizing Bible verses. And then COVID kicked off during his kindergarten. So it was like, son of a gun. So he's going through kindergarten, COVID's happening. And his teacher drove, it was like a 45-minute to an hour drive to get to the school. And then we ended up doing it for 3 years because I liked the school so much. But she came to our house. She went to every single kindergarten's house and did a graduation ceremony in their driveway during COVID. And I was like, I want this. Yeah. Like there's no public school is going to do this nonsense. I want this. All the public school teachers were like, oh yeah, sorry, we can't see kids because we're going to die. And it was like, this lady was like, no, like kindergarten graduation should be a big thing for these kids. And I want that to be a big thing. So she would like made it a deal, And I was like, this is awesome. And we ended up sticking to that school for 3 years. But then I left the military. I was all done. And I was like, man, we moved down here to Florida, did 1 more year in school. I put him in one private school that I hated. I didn't like the teachers. I didn't like the programs. Like all the research told me that this was going to be good. And then we went into practice and I was like, no, this is horrible. Like I can't do this. Like, ended up asking them if we could leave early. They gave us some of our money back. We left, went to a different school, loved the school, but it was like, he was in school for 8 hours. He's in 3rd grade. He's in school for 8.5 hours, then comes home and has 2 hours of homework. It was a very strict school, a lot of stuff. And I was like, man, I'm losing all this time. I still can't travel with my kids because, like, I'd go on. Are you in GoBundance?
Oh, what's that?
No, we'll have to chat about it. So it's an entrepreneur group that I absolutely love. There's a men's and a women's. So, but I'm clearly in the men's one. But no matter what 2025 says, there's a difference, and I'm the man side. But I'll chat with you about it here in a second. But,
yeah, cool. Yeah.
So I go on GoBundance trips and I'm like, man, I really want to bring my kids. There's FamBundance trips that are a part of it, where they bring the family in, you do family masterminding and you get together and like the kids are like learning how to do, business propositions and different things like in front of a group. And it's just so much fun. I'm like, I want to drag them along, but I'm going to get a note from the county that I've traveled with my kids too much. Like, I don't want that nonsense. And I'm already doing a couple hours a day of work with my kids for homework. So why don't I just do that in the morning, knock out that school in the morning, get a majority of their stuff done, and then homeschool from now on. And my wife was like, dude, you're the one that's going to have to do it. You're running businesses and you're sitting at home and you want to do homeschool. Are you out of your mind? And I was like, I'm pretty sure this is where we need to bring our family. And she's like, all right, well, again, it's on you. I don't know. So we started homeschooling. We're on our 3rd year now. My wife just retired, so she's picking it up now. She just retired from the military, so she's starting to do the homeschool thing herself and learning what it's like. And I've done a horrible job of preparing her for it and setting her up. Like, I just happened to close on the business at the same time that the school year started and all this stuff. And it was like,
best of luck.
See you later. You know, and I felt terrible. I still do. Every day I feel terrible about it because I haven't done a good job of like doing the right thing. But I am a huge fan of the homeschool side of the house. But you have to be dedicated to making sure that they still get community. They still get the, play with the friends, and they still get to, he's still going to have a birthday party with a bunch of friends that are coming. And we have some really close family friends they love hanging out with each other. So they still get all of that exposure. So it's good.
That's good. You're my inspiration for that then. So you can be an entrepreneur, you can still homeschool a kid. And that's the thing too, is because I grew up like that. And that's good what you said, is like exposing them to other things. I know that there's like even homeschool sport leagues and stuff like that
Yes.
they can be a part of. Because I will say the stereotype can be true. A lot of my friends growing up, they were weird.
Yes. Homeschool then is so much different than it is now, though.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because I did know a few of the homeschool, like, people like you that came in high school, and we looked at them, we were like, that person's screwed.
This weirdo.
Like, there's no way. Like, that person is never going to make it in life. Which is why I think I thought to myself, I don't want the private school either, because it was like, no, like, I'm so prepared for the world. And I think to myself, no, I can prepare my kids for the world. I don't need the world to prepare my kids for itself, right? Like, this is not how this should be going. I was just kind of thrown out into it, and like, public school is just what you did. Like, my parents did not have money to put me into a private school or do any of the homeschool stuff. It was no, like, this is not what's happening. But I love being able to expose my kids to all sorts of different things now. They get to like, they get entrepreneur classes that good luck getting that in 6th grade.
Correct.
Right? But my 6th grader gets to learn what it means to run a business. And they come to the business with me in the middle of the day and like hang out and watch what it looks like to interact with customers and, set bookings up and make phone calls and do all the stuff. And it's like, you're going to do this even in the most amazing private school. You're still not going to get any of this, and I love being able to do it. So. But I would strongly encourage you guys, if it's something that you want to do, pray about it, chat with your wife about it. I'd be happy to jump on separate calls with you to chat about homeschooling and how we do it and how we structure it, to give you some ideas. Legs getting tired? Time to sit down? Long conversation?
Man, I got. Let's keep on going. I got the coffee warmed up here. Let's keep on going.
The structure, how we do it. So we had an au pair for a while when my wife was still active duty. There was no way that I could actually still run a business and manage 3 kids running around the house. Totally get it without the extra help. So like, having the au pair was a major game changer, and being able to say, okay, I'm going to dedicate the mornings to doing school, knocking all the stuff out. I work from home. So if they have questions, they can come in and yes, it's extra interruptions. Yes, it's a little bit more difficult to get work done. But is my priority getting this one email sent out, or making sure that they understand what 4 + 4 is? Yeah, let me knock out 4 + 4 real quick, right? That it took reminders multiple times, because I'm a very like task oriented, get these things done, knock it all out type of guy. But their face reminded me rather often. I'll just look at it and go, yeah, there's no way I can say no to that. Let's go knock this out. So there's ways to do it. There's ways to get the homeschool done, especially if you come from means, if you have the means for it. It's one of those things. Does money make you happier? No, but it sure can buy away a lot of your pain.
Yeah, it could solve some problems.
It could solve some problems for you, So yeah, I'd love to chat with you about it if it's something you're interested in. Yeah. So GoBundance, let me tell you about that.
Yes.
So GoBundance is a group of men, and we've got about 850 dudes in the group nationwide, worldwide really. There's multiple overseas folks. We've got local chapters all over the place. I'm the local chapter leader for here in Tampa, where it's a bunch of entrepreneurs or business-minded folks. Not all of them are entrepreneurs. We've got doctors. We've got sales folks, we've got business owners, we've got real estate brokers, we've got all sorts of folks inside of it. But it's all about not just growing your financial wealth, but growing like your health, your spirituality, your friendships. They go on epic vacations together. They've got every year they've got these like 14-day trips. It's just the dudes, just the members that they go out on these 14-day trips. Part of it is maybe they go build a house in Honduras while they're on this trip, and they're bouncing around and they're doing things. So giving back to the community and giving back is a huge portion, is one of the pillars, is, how much have you given back this year compared to your income and all this stuff, but it's not just focused on the business side of the house, which I love. And they have a fan abundance portion, which I'm a huge fan of, because I get to bring my kids and they get to see other families that are just as crazy as we are. And boy, there's other kids that actually homeschool so they could travel around and do this stuff. And there's other dads that are just as maniacal about business and talking about all this stuff as my dad. Okay, this is great. And then we get them around like-minded people and grow as a family together too. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great organization, if you ask me.
Now, on the trips and stuff, are they family trips and everything as well?
So they have some family trips, right? So the fan abundance side of the house is usually paired up with the men's mastermind. Like in January, we're going to Colorado, to Breckenridge, right? I was a knucklehead and didn't sign up on time, so I'm on the wait list. So hopefully I go to Breckenridge, but
if they're listening to this, let's get on. Come on.
Yeah, please, let's go. I can still sign up for fan abundance, but I'd like to get both of them knocked out. But so there's going to be like 3.5 days of fan abundance, and then butted right up next to the Go Abundance trip. So we'll bring the family out. My family will stay there the entire time with me. But we'll do like on those trips, they're very long days, because like you may wake up at 6 a.m. to start whatever epic adventure you're going to do. Maybe you're going snowboarding, maybe you're going heli skiing, maybe you're going like they literally have programs set up. You go heli skiing. So if you want to get dropped off by a helicopter at the top of the mountain, sign up for it. They'll drop you off up by a helicopter at the top of the mountain and get going. Snowcat skiing, backcountry, what's the word I'm looking for? Snowshoeing, because it's the winter event. So all of that stuff, right? In the summer, if we do a summer or fall event, the last fall event was up in Banff, up in Canada. So they did like a huge hiking trip as part of the epic thing. So you do that in like the morning, and then you do the mastermind from like 2 to 8, 2 to 10 in the afternoon. So then you wake up and do it all over again, right? You do some sort of epic fun adventure. Maybe you just decide to go just regular snowboarding that morning. Okay, well, you do that, go snowboarding, go skiing, do whatever you do. And then at 2 o'clock, we're all going to meet up, and we're going to have some folks on stage teach us about something. We're going to grow. We're going to, talk about each other's one sheet. So you're kind of going over your goals for the year, where your financials are at, what sort of things you need help with, and all these things across all the pillars. So it's a lot of fun. And they just did another trip to, it was a smaller group, but they did it to a youth home in, where was it? Oh, I don't remember. Somewhere in Asia. I forgot which country it was, but they brought like 5 families out there, and they got to give back to this youth home of all these kids that don't have parents at all. It's this orphanage, and help give back and cook and play and just have fun with these kids and learn and grow and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
See, I like the idea of stuff like that. And maybe this is it, because it was something that my wife and I have wanted to look for is one thing that we have found is like the uniqueness within the uniqueness is we're both entrepreneurs. So finding things that we can both do together, because she runs the medical practice every single day. I run the agency, and then we come together to do, the med spa and the short-term stuff. And so we've like, she's found like this women's like business group. I've seen like other men's groups and stuff that I've been part of and stuff, but we've always tried to find like one thing I wanted to find is a like biblical based like entrepreneurial group for like couplepreneurs, if that's a thing.
Yeah.
Cause that's the one thing is like, I mean, you know this with kids and the events and stuff like that, is like taking time away from that. And it's like, hey, best of luck. You run everything. I'm out.
Yeah. You're not wrong there.
I think things like that would be good.
Yeah. I mean, I could chat with you more about it offline if you wanted to, just kind of get an idea if it is a fit. It's one of those things it is definitely not for everybody. There is a women's version and there is a men's version. And there are a few events a year that they have where they bring everybody together. And there are multiple Zoom calls that they have where everybody's together. But for the most part, what they found when they meld them all together is that the men weren't as vulnerable about some of their business and personal things because they're like, oh, I'm not saying that in front of all these women, So they were like, nope, we want it separate, because men need to talk about different things than women do. And we're going to be more vulnerable with each other than we are going to be I should not be getting vulnerable with another woman that's not my wife. Shouldn't be happening, right? So let's not create a potential problem. Let's keep that portion of it separate. But there are definitely some things that are lined up together. From what I've gathered, the women will love the women's one. I'm again not on that side, so I don't really know everything that they've got going on. But it might be worth you guys checking out.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah.
All right. So as we're getting close to kind of wrapping up, what other things did you want to discuss? Maybe we haven't. Maybe you had some questions about something that popped up or anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said you wanted to ask. You said you want to talk about church. You had a church.
Oh, yeah, you said something earlier. Thank you for the reminder. I need this. This is why I told a couple of my employees yesterday. I said I need somebody that could just follow me around and help me remember all the things that I said I need to do but don't do. Because like I even have a to-do list and I almost never look at my to-do list. It'll be like twice a month. I'll look at it. I'm like, crap, I forgot I need it. Anyways. So thank you. Maybe you need to follow me around. But you had mentioned earlier that it's not the church's job to teach your kids, and I'm just curious what you meant by that.
Yeah, I think that just like it is the parents' responsibility. So we can create the atmosphere and everything, but what I don't want, I'm trying to think how to navigate this. So I think that there's too many people that they check the box of like, oh, I raised my kids up in church and I dropped them off and they're there at every service, and it's the pastor's job or it's the youth leader's job to be teaching them this stuff. Like, I don't think that's the case. I believe that we should be teaching that stuff and doing that stuff in the house, and it's just reaffirmed whenever they're going there at church and everything. Like, they shouldn't be getting, my belief is they shouldn't be getting all of their spiritual growth and knowledge 1 to 2 days a week at another church or outside of the home. That should be happening in the home, because we, like I said earlier, we should be training up a child in the way it should go. I definitely think that is wise, and you do need to seek counsel, and we need to have a lot of good people around them, because they're going to, just like talked about vulnerability, their youth leaders are going to be able to say certain things, because when it's mom and dad, it's like, oh, that's just dad or mom. So there's good to have that. But what I don't want is kind of the same thing like with a lot of people even do in the public school system or in any school system. Oh, it's the school's job to raise my children. No. They should be reinstilling principles and stuff inside of them. Mm-hmm. That same thing should be happening at church, but I don't want all their spiritual growth to be coming from other people. I want it to be reaffirmed from other people, because I want them to see the solid foundation that mom and dad are teaching them at home, and it's just reiterated at the church.
I'm so glad that I asked that question, because it is I think it's a mandate for us to raise our kids in that way and to grow our kids. And when we just kind of, you obviously go to church, so you've seen probably, especially you've got kids that are probably in the youth group age. So you've seen some of those that just drop their kids off and they're like, all right, yep, there they go. They get what they need. And the kids don't have a clue what they're actually doing there. They don't really understand, because there's no foundation for it. They've never got a structure to it. They don't anything. And if I'm relying on 2 hours a week when half of that is playing a game, to be teaching my kiddos on what the word is and who Christ was, and like, no, that's not all going to be sufficient. So I completely agree with you there. All right, I'm very glad that I asked that question.
Yeah, and one thing that I will say that I am somewhat proud of, because I think it's just a good thing to do, and it's very simple to do. And I kind of said this earlier, is we just ask our kids a lot more questions, because I want them to almost like teach themselves. So like one of the things that we specifically do is like whenever we are pulling out of the parking lot in the truck, it's like, hey, what'd you talk about today? Okay, what do you think that means to you? Oh, we talked about this story or this verse. Like even our older daughters, again, they see the habit. They're going to do it. Like they see mom and dad taking notes at church. So whenever they're even in the main service with us, they're taking notes and stuff in church. Like, hey, what'd you write down today? Oh, what made you write that down? What do you think that means to you? And just asking different questions and stuff. Even with our son, 5-year-old, what's your verse that you learned today? And like he'll get super excited because he said a verse or something like that. What do you think that means, buddy? And the answer is that Jesus loves me. Like, okay, well, yeah, but that's that's the Sunday school answer. But one thing that I've seen that Courtney, my wife, and I have seen to pull the most out of the kids and get them to grow more is that self-realization and self-teaching by asking them questions and getting them to kind of start processing things around them and to start noticing things. Because now they also know, it kind of also makes them pay more attention, because they know as soon as we get in the truck, Dad's going to ask us what we learned. And so they kind of forces them to at least have that one nugget to where they can at least just check the box for, Dad's going to ask us this question, so I at least need to have this answer. But we've done that with everything. Like I spoke at a church about 3 or 4 weeks ago at a men's conference, and I got to bring my daughters. All the kids got to come with my wife and I, and so they got to be exposed to some really awesome, like strong, like men of God and pastors that speak all over the world on massive churches and stuff. And afterwards, we'd always ask them, like, hey, what'd you notice about him whenever he was in the room? How did you notice that? How like he went through, like there's this one pastor in particular, his name's Phil Muncie. and awesome man of God. And he would intentionally go around the room and just give thanks for everything. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so thankful for you. And like made every single person in the room, like even my kids, feel important. And so like, that's one of the things, like whenever they have interactions with people, both good and bad, whenever the truck is the sacred talk time. We have lots of good talks in the truck, but it's like, what'd you notice about him? Oh man, he was super kind to everybody. What else did you notice? One thing that I noticed is he went through and he shook everybody's hand and he looked him in the eye. Okay, what do you think that was good about that? And like you start getting them to ask those questions. And so we do that on the good. We do that with the church. We do that with the good interactions. We also do that with the bad interactions. So they might have some friends come over and hang out at the house, and they'll start to, I think that a lot of times whenever it's like at school and stuff, they might not recognize it as much, but when it's in their environment and their home and they know our system and how we run our home and things that mom and dad like and don't like, and then they'll have some friends leave. I'm like, how do you think today went? And, I really never noticed that, this girl really is kind of rude and disrespectful. And like, she didn't even say thank you for anything. Okay. Like, and you start getting them to start paying attention and notice those things. But again, it has to be intentional. And what I have found is what's been working the best for us, at least, is it's not just telling them what to do, but asking them those questions to pull that stuff out so they realize it. Hey, did you notice that this friend was a lot different? They were kind of over there. They're just on their phone the whole time they were over their house. Yeah, that was kind of rude, wasn't it? Like, yeah. Did you notice they didn't even say bye to us when they left? Like, and you're starting to get them to realize those things. And so anyway, just being intentional with that, it starts for us at our church, but then good interactions we have with people, bad interactions, just getting to ask those questions around them to get them to kind of pull that stuff out. That has been one of the things that I would say, like, okay, I can check. I've got that. We did that one good. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. What are some of the things that you think you've been doing poorly that you need to correct and jump on a little bit better?
For a long time, it was work-life balance, because it was just like, hey, this is work time. And I would say I wasn't good at that until probably like the last 3 to 4 years, where now, and it's somewhat easier now just because businesses are more established, like especially agency and stuff like that. It's a lot easier for me to, just be like, yeah, I can move this call or I can do this. And because my schedule is a lot more flexible now than like my wife's with set patients and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, I can go pick up the kids today. Yeah, I can go do this. And so now it's a lot easier for me to do that stuff. But for a long time, it was like, no, it's kind of like one of the things we were talking about offline is like the husband, the father, the dad, your job is to provide and protect. But that doesn't mean that you just are heads down working and stuff all the time. You still need to remember the whole reason for all the, if you're not doing the foundational stuff, there'll be nothing left to provide and protect for.
Yeah.
And so making sure that you're keeping the main thing and everything. I struggled with that for a very long time, and I've gotten better with that. I think for me, if I had to pick one thing, it would probably still just be pace. One thing that I think that I'm hoping it's going to end up being like the getting married at 19-year-old thing. Our kids now have a very high capacity compared to most other kids because of the schedule and the pace that me and my wife are at. Yeah. But I also sometimes do know, like, we need to just check out sometimes. And so one thing, we've honestly just started this the past probably 2 months because our whole family, like, we're just tired because we've been going really, really hard with a lot of different things. One thing I didn't even mention, and we didn't even finish. And so like, I actually went back to ministry school a couple of years ago, and I just graduated in May. During the past several years too, I've been going to ministry school full time, 20 hours a week. And so ever since that's finished up in May, it's given us a little bit more breathing room, but we just realized, like, man, the past 2-3 years, we've been going hard because we've also layered that on top of everything. And so like, even now on the weekends, like, we have just been checking out lately, and like, the kids, we noticed that they're just like thankful. Like, they just love, like, let's just cuddle. Like, our son's like, can we just watch a movie and cuddle? Like, yeah, boy, we will. Like, everybody's just so tired and run down right now. So I think that the pace thing I like, because I want my kids to have endurance and strength and everything to persevere and stuff. But I can tell that we've been pushing them too hard. My wife and I, we've got all the time in to train and everything, but I do know that we've been pushing them too hard. And so it's been a nice season to just kind of like, past couple of months, like, let's slow it back down, because we know, like, we're going to have a busy, spring, and then we'll get back to summer and it'll be chill again. That's for us at the pace.
I like it. Where did you get your degree from?
Our church. So our church.
Very cool.
Yeah. There's a long, cool story behind it. Quick version is I've always known I was supposed to do ministry. Doesn't mean I'm supposed to be a full-time pastor. I think that my business is ministry. And so I was doing some ministry work with a good friend of mine in Mexico City. This prophet guy came over to me, didn't know who I was. And he's just like, I just want to let you know, you've got the anointing of Joseph over your life, and you're supposed to help equip business owners to grow and advance the kingdom, but you need to get trained up, and it's going to be a 2-year program to train you and equip you. Walked away. Okay. I was like super straight faced because I'd been thinking about like, I need to go back to ministry school and stuff like that. Good joke. We get back to our church the next weekend, and the pastor's like, hey, we got something we've been working on. We're super excited to announce. We're actually launching a ministry training program. We got this pastoral ministry track. We've got this missions ministry track, and we've got something new that we're starting. We just felt on our heart to do it. It's going to be a business ministry track for like business owners, entrepreneurs that just want to advance the kingdom through their business. And it's a 2-year program. I was like, all right, I'm doing that. So literally I go through that program, and this was about 3 years ago. I was actually thinking about shutting the marketing agency down because it was just like, for the amount of time I was putting in, like I was not making that much money. Like I was like, I can go make $100,000 a year and be the head of marketing at another company, and I don't have to put in all this crazy work and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, but let's just put it on coast mode until I finish ministry school, because I can at least just make a little bit of money while I'm going to school full time. And I was applying for marketing jobs that I was well overqualified for. Wasn't even going to call for an interview. So talk about like a gut punch there. And I was like, all right, God, like I know I'm supposed to do ministry school. Like no joke, the first month of the ministry school, my agency signed a ton of clients and the business doubled. And like the next month, like we had like 10% more growth, and it just kept going and going and going until where like during ministry school, I worked less than I had ever worked, but I went from me and a couple of freelancers to a staff of 11 now. And the business has like 8x'd what it was 3 years ago. And it's 100% because I know I wasn't walking in full of obedience with what God originally told me to do, of just finish ministry school, because I called you to do this thing. I'm not a full-time pastor or anything. I think, like I said, my workplace is my ministry and everything. And so now my wife kind of jokes with me. She's like, man, I wish you would have obeyed God 20 years ago. So that's a quick version of that whole story there and everything of ministry school. And so it's through my church, Guts Church.
Love it. Yeah, I was signed up for my master's in theology years ago, and then I got picked up by the U.S. Marshals to go be a U.S. Marshal, and at the same time got picked up to go back active duty to be a pilot. And I was like, crap. Like I just signed up for my courses for my master's in theology, and now I've got these two really awesome job offers in front of me. What the heck do I do? DOJ put in a hiring freeze. So there went my marshal's job. I was just kind of sitting on the bench waiting. And then I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going back active duty to go be a pilot. So I ended up having to pause my theology degree, went back in. I say pause because I now have thought about going back to go and actually get my theology degree, because it's one of those things I told myself as well, like, well, it's going to really force me to get into the word some more. I'm not going to have a choice. I'm going to really be doing it.
You got to study now. You got homework.
I got no choice. I'm going to be writing a paper on this. I got to read, but also because it's a thing that I'd love to be able to be more involved in and understand better. And so I was looking at Liberty University to do my theology degree through them.
Awesome.
I don't think I'd want to go do an MDiv. That's way too much. I think I've got a buddy of mine that went and got his MDiv, and I was like, I know. I'm not planning to be a pastor, so just enjoy theology, enjoy those conversations, and I would like to be stronger in it. So, but I would love to pick your brain after, if you don't mind, or learn a little bit more about that program.
Yeah.
I just had lunch with a guy yesterday. He runs a small group for our church for entrepreneurs, and I'm in that small group. And he's like, I really want to help men inside of the church who are business owners and help them grow their business more and do all this stuff just more locally. And I'd love to hear about that program and how you guys kind of got it set up and how it all went, because it sounds like something that he might be interested in.
Yeah, for
maybe
sure.
duplicating.
I got tons of books I'll tell you about too.
All right. Fantastic. Yeah, we'll have to get it all rolling. Well, Sean, it's been absolutely awesome getting to know you a bit, getting to know who you are. I mean, we had never met before this phone call. I'm not even sure who referred us. I don't know if you know who referred us.
There's an agency that I use to help do podcast bookings and stuff.
All right. Maybe it came that way. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, I get referrals from folks like you who I have on. I just have them give me 2 other awesome dads who would be great interviews. So, but regardless of how you showed up, I'm very thankful that you did. I look forward to having more conversations with you besides just hanging out here on the podcast. If folks are hearing this, they love what they're hearing from you. What is the best way for folks to reach out to you and follow you?
Yeah, the best way, just honestly connect me with on my website. It's seangarner.co, SeanGarner.co, just seangarner.co. On there, I mean, we didn't even really hardly talk to the business stuff, but I've got a marketing domination podcast. So if you're into marketing, growing your business, you can check that out there. That's where all my socials and stuff are. I personally, we didn't even talk about this either. I'm personally not super active on social. So it looks like I am, but I'm going to be honest. I have a staff member that runs it all for me. So I create a ton of content. But one thing that I have personally found is social media on my phone is a distraction for me. I know a man's got to know his limitations. I know that I can get sucked into death scrolling. So I don't even keep it on my phone. So I post a lot of stuff. But the best way, if you send me a DM, I will respond to the DM. But if you think that it's me all the time, it's not. So go to the website, check it out, and connect with us over there.
Love it. SeanGarner.co. Sean, it's one of the downfalls about this conversation, about this conversational part of the podcast, is I never know where it's going to go. So sometimes I miss out on a bunch of stuff. So learn more about Sean over on his website. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you again, Sean, for jumping on. Maybe we'll have to do a 2.0. We'll cover some more. Let's do it. Ground throughout the process. But thank you, everybody, again for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, let us know what your favorite part of this conversation was. Share this with somebody you think is going to get some value out of it. I hope you all have a wonderful, enjoyable, at the time you may be hearing this, it may already be the new year. So I hope you enjoyed the new year. And I look forward to continuing this podcast and great conversation with folks like Sean. And we'll see everybody on the next show.
Thank you so much for listening to the BizDad Podcast. We hope you found some value in your time here with us, and we look forward to bringing you the next episode. If you've enjoyed today's show, please subscribe and share so you and your friends won't miss our upcoming episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Rumble, where we continue these discussions and share more valuable content. Be the dad you know you need to be and run your business in a way you're proud to share with your kids. Keep crushing it.